Okay, so this video is to talk about the tail cone. Now this comes with the tail cone. What's interesting is that the black Brant has the same nose cone as the Crossfire, and it also has the same tail cone as the Crossfire. Well, when I put together the Crossfire, I had some challenges and some difficulty, and with this tail cone. Now, it looks really cool like this, but it also causes some real challenges. So what we want to do is kind of look at some of the problems with this and make a decision in terms of how we want to proceed with the build. The first thing you have to do is you have to separate this from the nose cone. There's this little separator piece that was on here. You have to cut that off, sand this down, and you have to make sure that you sand or that you carefully cut away the inside so that there's nothing in the way of the engine clip that's going to go on here. As you notice on Dave Thomas' video, he said he forgot his instructions, so he just kind of arbitrarily fitted it. Says, yeah, it looks kind of good this way. But I just want to show you some of the problems that I have in terms of when I built the this Crossfire ISX. So if we look at the Crossfire ISX, you see the engine tube actually sticks out quite a distance into the edge of the tail cone. I don't know if you can see that. I'm looking at the monitor here. So if we stick an engine in order to get the engine out, you have to have some way to grab it. So the engine sticks out. And if you look at that, that's at least 3/8 of an inch, maybe almost a half of an inch. And that's, I'll tell you what, let's find out for sure. Yeah, it's 3/8 of an inch. It's quite a bit. So if you think about it, this really doesn't look that good anyway. So if you're going to go put it on the launch pad, it's kind of like, well, you have the tail cone, you got the engine really hanging out of it, the engine clip out of it. So again, I don't think that really makes it look that great. So this tail cone, I think, is not really that good looking, except when the engine is out. It looks pretty nice like this if you're just going to show it on the wall and hang it up somewhere. But once you get it out in the field, you've got your engine in here. It just really, again, does not really look that great. And the other thing too is also the center of balance shifts back quite a bit. If you think about it, if we have the engine tube, you have the engine in it, and several rockets will have the engine tube flush with the back, so that the engine tube is right here, actually right about here. It doesn't stick out that much, but if you look at this, when we combine all the extra space, if we make this flush, it'll fit like this. But if we use, oops, oh, that was not a smart idea. Remember I warned about the glue needs to be dry? Okay, it was gripping onto the engine. I think it's pretty dry now. So this means the engine is going to be this much farther back. So what's happening is you're moving your center of balance back by almost an inch. I don't like doing that. So again, it's going to hurt the balance a little bit. So what we're gaining is this tail cone kind of looks cool when the rocket is just by itself. The engine in, I think it just looks a little bit absurd, because it's like, well, what good is the tail cone if the engine is sticking out almost 3/8 of an inch? And again, overall, the mounting of this engine tube could be right here, and we just put the engine right about there and have this be the actual engine mount. If it was like this inside of this nozzle, you wouldn't be able to pull the engine out, which is why they have it sticking out so far. So what that means, we're going to have to move the clip up if we want to remove the nozzle. Let me show you an example of what this would be like. I have built a new rocket. I actually built an Honest John out of spare parts. So this is a custom build. But what I did is I had a flush mount on the tail. So this is what I'm looking at as being a much better solution. When you put the engine in, it basically it's right there. So I think this actually looks just as good as what the tail cone. Matter of fact, I think this looks better. It's a little bit more sleek looking. So you don't have a tail cone, the engine sticking out of it. Instead, you just have the rocket with the engine in the back. So we need to kind of talk about this to decide how we want to do this. But again, I think that this is a much better looking mount than having the tail cone sticking out with the engine sticking out of that. And you can see, again, with the difference with the clips, that the engine is forward by almost a half of an inch, which will help the balance and the flight stability. Okay, so I'll go ahead and we can review that and decide what we want to do tomorrow. Because Saturday I'd like to put together the video for the engine mount, and at that point we're going to have to change how this is put together. You put it together according to the directions. You can see the engine clip is way down here because the engine tube comes back and the nozzle comes back. However, if you put it together like this, it's basically a standard engine build, which is, I think, looks actually, to me it looks better, but you know, we can talk about that. But again, it's just a standard engine build where it fits, this tube is flush. And it's just really easy just to slide the engine right back out. Okay, so again, I'm just setting this as a supplementary type of thing that we want to do, because if we do this, we can go off direction for that, but it's really easy to do that. Just a couple of pencil markings. If we do this, it's quite a bit more difficult to do, and you know, Dave Thomas actually talked about that in his video, where the lines are kind of very close to the end. And he dry fit everything, and he marked where everything fit together, so it's easier to fit it together and then mark it where actually everything fits. I will also comment that when I did it according to the instructions on one of my Crossfires, what happened was the fact that the engine tube was just a slight bit below the ring here. So if you think about this, if we got the nozzle here and that the throat of that is where this needs to be, mine was just about 1 millimeter too low, which made the tube go to the side. Going to the side means now that I couldn't get the engine in, because once the engine tube was glued in, I tried to glue in the nozzle, they were just off center by about 1 millimeter, and I couldn't get the engine in. So I had to take a knife and grind the whole inside of the nozzle and the tube. It just made a mess. So again, unless you're exactly in line with everything, you may end up with some challenges. On the other hand, it does look nice when it's sitting on a table, but I think when you actually put the engine in here and say, okay, the engine's going to be sticking out like that, I just really don't see the real reason for putting it on. So okay, let me send you this, and we can go ahead and we talk about what we want to do. Again, you can see my personal opinion is that I really like the looks of the of this type of a rocket mount. So when we get out to the field, we're flying. I think this looks really nice with the engine just sliding in right in there. I think that looks really nice. So on the black Brant, again, I think it's going to look really nice because everything's going to be nice and flush, nice and square. Okay. Let me also say that I need to look at this a little bit more carefully from the point of view that the black Brant, the fins are swept back. So having the nozzle sticking out and then having the engine sticking out might make it easier to grab the rocket engine. But again, I really don't think it's going to make that much of a difference because this is a BT-50. I mean, it's not that hard to pull this out when there's only 3 fins. Okay, so anyways, let's do some thinking, figure out what we want to do in this, and go ahead and start treating your tubes, and we'll see what we can do about it. Bye.